World of Warcraft social distancing since 2004? You weren't even born in 2004.
Shut up. Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show that takes all the negativity and buries it all deep inside until all that's left is joy and happiness and absolute positivity for the best game ever.
Yeah, don't do that.
Check it out, right over there. It's the pretty names of the people who support this channel, and you can too, like the Twitch regulars who keep that Brutosaur party going, as well as newcomers Alexis and Thomas and Anne, who is stepping up the game. Thank you. So before we start, I don't need to remind you that all of our lives have been affected in one way or another in recent months, so just a big thanks to everyone who's been coming back to the channel and to the streams, showing your generosity and bringing in that truly positive energy, except for that one guy in the comments. You know who you are.
Oh crap, foiled again.
So let's get to the news with the Activision Blizzard thing doing their quarterly earnings call, which normally wouldn't make it to the top of the news because, well, it's great that World of Warcraft overall is doing well and is in fact growing its number of active users.
Well, technically it's thanks to people staying at home and WoW Classic.
Well, that's great. I mean, not people being stuck at home, but that's still really good news.
Wait, you're supposed to be triggered. Oh man.
Okay, so WoW is doing well, more people are playing, and it's no surprise why. There's more people at home, there are strong promotions, and plenty to do between WoW Classic and Battle for Azeroth. Pick your pleasure, or do both, you dirty skank you. But the real reason why this is at the top of the news is that big honcho and man who lets it whip, J Allen Brack, announced that World of Warcraft Shadowlands is still on pace to launch at the end of 2020. We've heard this before from one of his lead minions, Ian Hazzikostas, in a recent interview, but when it comes from the boss during an earnings call, that carries some real weight. Shadowlands will make it to 2020. Or so he says. I touched briefly on how that was going to happen the other week, but today, let's get a little bit deeper into just what could happen in what could potentially be WoW's biggest launch ever. Because it has to be.
Yeah, or else.
You know, no one's scared of that.
Yeah, not until it gets stuck up their ass.
Okay, so folks, gather around, come on. Gather around, have a seat, relax, take a deep breath, while I take you, person at home and on the toilet, on an imaginary journey towards the end of 2020. We're living now in a world that has hopefully learned lessons in the wake of a global catastrophe, and maybe a lot of us are still playing Cyberpunk 2077, or Animal Crossing, or both, or like an Animal Crossing cyberpunk kind of whatever. In this scenario, Blizzcon as we know it has been cancelled. Tragic. But instead, it's turned into this days-long virtual festival of Blizzard gaming. Fans from around the world will tune in to see the opening ceremonies of this new virtual BlizzCon streamed from their app and on YouTube. That's right. Crap. They partnered with YouTube on this. Positive thinking. Okay. As Blizzard announces one thing after another, Battle.net clients around the world are flagged to access game demos of the latest whatever it is that they're talking about. In fact, all of Blizzard's existing games are going to be flagged to be played for free during this whole BlizzCon festival. And for those who bought the virtual ticket because, Activision Blizzard wants that cash money, those people will get additional digital goodies and can play these demos and game unlocks for an extra couple of weeks or so? Something like that. Throughout this festival, Blizzard is going to drop VOD after VOD of developer interviews and virtual panels just like they were at BlizzCon. There will also be interviews between developers and notable streamers. Imagine Ian Hazzikostas being strapped to his chair at home or wherever to be talked to by the likes of Bay and Preach for like a good 30 minutes or so, all via teleconference. And then jump into a session with the Wowhead team. And then another one with Evatel and Bob because, Bob's really insisting on it.
I want to know her and then let her put a baby in me.
And then, of course, the infamous WoW Q&A, where Laura reads off our questions because I know you missed that so much. And then, even bigger, At some point during this BlizzCon festival, maybe at the end, or maybe while everything's still going on, Blizzard does it. They do a big old countdown, they press the big red button, and Shadowlands goes live. It'll be pandemonium. Now, it's going to be Twitch that will suddenly explode with Shadowlands leveling hype. Maybe Blizzard can do some exclusive drops over the first couple of days while talking about it on their BlizzCon streams, on the app, and on YouTube, because the festival is still going on. Pets, backpack transmog, that sort of stuff. In Battle for Azeroth, I streamed my entire 15 or so hour leveling experience, so you bet that if they did do drops, yeah, sure, people will be watching for, a backpack thing or a pet thing here and there. That would be a hell of a launch, with Blizzard right there waving the starting flag live for this worldwide release during a BlizzCon gaming festival. It won't just be WoW though, of course. I mean, how about a preview for Diablo 4? How about an announcement for Classic Burning Crusade with a limited demo on top of that too? I mean, maybe that'll be a bad overlap, so maybe Shadowlands can launch like just after BlizzCon or something. Maybe I'm just getting too excited and I'm setting myself up for a lot of disappointment, but that would just be really cool. So there was an alpha build, right? After getting all worked up, I have to remind myself that, yeah, we're still just on the Shadowlands Alpha, which makes the Shadowlands launch and possible BlizzConapalooza feel really, really far away. But anyway, there are some very impressive armor sets revealed this week, with the leather and cloth sets being featured. With the leather sets comes a bona fide long coat for all races, so thank you very much. Now my leather wearers can finally have something respectable to transmog into. Meanwhile, the cloth set looks very, very cool, but when it comes to my personal taste, it's something that I'm slightly less fond of. I mean, I appreciate the efforts at fighting the pandemic and all that, but for a cloth set, it seems a little bit busy. After all, nothing enhances your magical affinity like spiked arm guards to beat your enemy's face in, or does it? Meanwhile, feasts are becoming more and more elaborate, unless this was merely inspired in memory of when we all used to gather around for food. Maybe instead of a feast, maybe we should have had a whistle that summons a person to deliver bags of takeout and half-melted milkshakes on a rickety old table. In a follow-up from last week, and a reminder that, yeah, we're still in the alpha, the Covenant ability for Demon Hunters got a much-needed update. This ability is already really strange because it summons a demon that you have to kill before obtaining said buff, but this time, instead of just activating meta for a few seconds, it will instead drop a pool on the ground that increases your attack speed and reduces damage received, which doesn't seem to be all that much better, at least not until we find out how long this pool lasts and how large it is. The biggest additions this week are that 2 more classes have been introduced into Torghast, bringing the total to 7 classes available for testing. Shaman brought a good bit of fun to the table, unleashing buffs that make totems increase your damage, followed by buffs that make totems heal you, followed by buffs that make totem spawning make another totem appear too. It's like overcompensating for all these previous expansions. On the other hand, druids felt alright, but they didn't quite have the same effect of whoa, that shaman did. My druid happened to be this turtle that shot arcane artillery stuffs, and by that I mean both moonfires and full moons. That was basically the build. Lots of moonfires and big moon things every 20 moonfire ticks. It would have been quite viable for me to switch specs anytime that I wanted to during that run and still have the same effect, but I think that's what comes with a class that can perform every role, with the other 2 classes being monks and paladins, which currently are not testable at the moment. Neither are Death Knights, Rogues, or Hunters, so I'm really looking forward to see what the remaining classes have in store. I'm hoping to see a Hunter power that lets you have, your full stable of 5 pets be deployable, like boom, that'd be a treat. But what's next for the Shadowlands Alpha? Recent interviews and news suggest that Oribos, the expansion hub, and the Maw, Shadowlands endgame zone, would be testable in a matter of weeks, and it's been 1 week so far. The last 2 builds brought 1 class into Torghast, and then 2 more. There's some concerns that I have. Not really worries, but more like concerns, which is like a step below worry. Anyway, Maldraxxus and Ardenweald are on their list of testable content coming soon, so my hopes are that after seeing the Soul Society and Castlevania Rebellion zones, we get a strong mid-leveling experience with the remaining zones. Because remember, after our first romp through Shadowlands with leveling, our alts will be able to jump wherever they like while leveling, so they can do dungeons, complete world quests, and definitely the etceteras. I don't have a clue what I'm going to do on my alts yet, and that's got me a little bit excited. Like, screw the quests, hey, maybe I just want to switch between each one of my alts and do a few world quests each day on all of them, except maybe one who will level in Revendreth, because I too am a pointy-eared rebel. The other concern came after testing out Druids and Torghast. Now, I'm certain that Druids have more anima powers coming. Heck, mages had some new anima powers in this build, and they were in Torghast like 50 years ago. But after testing out Druids twice, I feel like I've come away from it a little bit less satisfied than I think I could have been, which could easily change in a week or so, but it's got me thinking about the other hybrid classes, like I mentioned earlier, monks and paladins. It's got me a little bit rattled, but I'm sure it's nothing, right? It's just kind of this bad feeling. But how about the most obvious thing that's got me grinding my gears? Just getting into Torghast. It's a big subject, but it's also like a dead horse that hasn't even been born yet, but there's a constant droning over this issue.
It's because you keep talking about it.
Yeah, I know, but it's better to speak up now, and so I can at least say that I tried. I made a few suggestions in a separate video that's really got right to the point. How should Torghast be paced, if at all? If you're interested, take a look. I'll have a link available in the description below, but I'm gonna highlight one suggestion here. One that can possibly be the silver bullet that satisfies both players and developers. And you know, forget the developers. Let's talk about us. All right, this is about us. So here it goes. In this little fictional scenario, we can walk into Torghast anytime we want. Boom. However, the moment that we walk in, we are, like attuned or locked into that instance of Torghast. It's kind of like being given a mythic raid ID, but unlike raid IDs that last until the Tuesday or Wednesday reset, Torghast lockouts last for 1 hour. This is to prevent the idea of walking in, seeing that our first anima powers are not like our best in slot, or they're total crap, so we walk out and reset the instance so we can roll our best in slot anima power. A Torghast ID will mean that technically when you walk in, the server will predetermine the layout, what anima powers are going to drop, and where, because we now know that Torghast is not a true procedurally created dungeon, but a large number of handcrafted floors that are just chosen. Anyway, since players won't be able to reset their Torghast for an hour, and will have no way to bypass this by joining someone else's group or suicide by Terragru, they can either suck it up and run it, because who knows, maybe the powers on higher floors will be like ridiculously awesome. Or they can wait an hour, because on average that's how long it takes to complete 12 floors of Torghast, meaning that we can always adjust this time, this lockout time, however we like. At any rate, it's pretty much the same difference. And I like this a lot better than, say, being totally locked out of Torghast for an hour because of some sort of deserter debuff. I would rather be in a position to make a choice that, no matter what, still lets me play. So have a listen to that video, and whatever the case, please share your thoughts in a comment below. So that wasn't so much news, given that this is my 10th video since last Saturday.
4 of them were visions, so stop padding.
10 is 10, damn it, but I did cover a lot of stuff already. Speaking of horrific visions, now that I've completed 5 chests on all 12 classes, it's just about time to get into what I think is going to be like the final stage, or the bonus round, if you will. I had a pretty easy time with my main as a protection paladin because I raid with him. You know, I had awesome trinkets and weapons and all that stuff. So now I have another paladin with an item level of 435, which is totally thrown off by a freaking rank 84 neck. Thank you, artifact knowledge, I guess. With a rank 1 cloak, really crappy gear, and a level 1 tentacle proc. Whoop-de-doo. And I also have the essences that I managed to buy with Echoes of Nyalotha and a lot of Coalescing Visions. So here's what's going to happen. Next Wednesday, I'm going to take this Retribution Paladin, a spec that I've never seriously played until 2 weeks ago, and then take them on a journey to eventually complete a 5-chest run of Stormwind in a single sitting. Do you want to see 8.3 without any gating? Or do you want to watch me do all the wrong things as a rep pally and then give up and switch to protection with like really crappy weapons? Whatever the case, tune into the stream for the Wednesday show. The times are somewhere over there. Or wait for the inevitable supercut that I will upload to this channel. That sounds like a good stopping point to wrap things up, so let's get a move on. Please tune in for what I hope will be a fulfilling week next week with another alpha build, more coverage, more vision stuff, and if I can, I want to talk a little bit about the cosmic lore of Warcraft, a favorite subject of mine. I want to get into who or what is the Jailer, or the Arbiter. Is there a thing like a death pantheon and all that? And is all this a lot easier to explain than we think? That's something I like focusing on, so I hope I get to that. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and to the stream for more of this and all things Warcraft. Let's have a good weekend, and I will see you later. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.